Back live with you tonight on In Focus. Commissioner at the Public Service Commission, Anele Gxoyiya, says corruption is undermining democracy and public trust. The Commission released its quarterly bulletin today, where governance matters, including unlawful instructions and ethical dilemmas, in public service, took center stage. Commissioner Anele Gxoyiya joins us now to break down some of their findings. Commissioner, good evening. It's good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. We want to really get a sense of the pulse of public service and whether, A, we are moving forward, or B, we are standing still and nothing is being done. Highlight to us the problem of unlawful instruction from political figures. How rife is this tendency, and how is it hampering on service delivery?
Look, I must say that there is a gradual improvement in terms of such misbehaviors that are attributed to unlawful instructions, because the public servants are getting to understand that it's not an excuse to use an unlawful instruction, as a scapegoat when they misbehave in terms of expenditure. So we have, of course, issued them with a handbook that they need to go through, that is a guide for them. However, the biggest problem that we're still sitting with, that we're trying to grapple with in trying to get the public service to act, is the whole question of consequence management. Because in many instances, after the Auditor General's report, we find out that the executive authorities do not act on those accounting officers who have flouted the provisions of the Public Finance Management Act, and we want action to be taken. So that's where we are right now. However, all public servants know that they are not allowed to carry out unlawful instructions. Yeah. And if there is any insistence, particularly from either the senior managers or the executive authorities, such instructions must be in writing, so that they can be able to respond in writing and explain the reason why some of the things cannot happen. If they are forced to do that, then they have a responsibility to consult the provincial treasury at the level of a province, or national treasury at the level of the national department, as well as the office of the Auditor General, before they can engage in any activity that has got financial implications.
So what kind of instructions are we talking about here? Because sometimes you would get an instruction, for example, that says, no, this is an emergency procurement. And in instances, for example, like the floods, one would think, an accounting officer would think, yeah, of course, it is an emergency procurement, and therefore things would need to be done in a manner that not necessarily follow the normal processes of procurement, but the emergency processes of procuring goods and services. Would that constitute and amount to an unlawful instruction, or maybe the examples get a little bit more severe as you conduct your investigations?
The Public Finance Management Act is clear in terms of dealing with emergency procurement and the steps that need to be taken in order to apply deviation in terms of expenditure. The example that I can give you of an unlawful instruction that I can quickly vouch on is when, for example, an executive authority comes to the accounting officer with someone at hand saying that this person doesn't have a job. Can you appoint this person on contract? You see, that's an unlawful instruction, Because if there is a post that is vacant, what needs to be done is to first evaluate that post and make sure that you grade it accordingly, and you attach to that the requirements, and you follow the necessary procedures of creating a vacancy, other than just picking up a person who has been given to you. That's one example. The second example...
Sorry, Commissioner, I'll come to the second example. But in that instance, then, are you saying we find ourselves, for example, with that kind of instruction, having someone occupying something like a position of a CFO without, the necessary experience and qualification? Hence, the Auditor General sometimes says to us, you have someone who is a CFO who can't put together the books. They can't even account for what has actually happened in that municipality.
Yeah, you see, that's the biggest crisis in municipalities. And sometimes, on paper, people possess the qualifications. But when it comes to doing the actual work, they can't do it. Then you find out that there's a CFO in a municipality, but the municipality must hire a consultant to do the books. But there is a CFO. The duty of the CFO is just to sign and approve procurement. That's all that they know. So that's a problem that needs to be attended to. Well, it's a very complex kind of a situation. Yeah. But where we are saying people should not carry out unlawful instructions is when you know that doing what I am told to do is in violation of the Public Finance Management Act. Yeah. It is in violation of public service regulations or any other policy or law governing the public service. But because I am told by my senior to do it, I will do it. Yeah. Because I am told by my executive authority to do it, I will do it. Without even trying to explain that it is not possible. And then the failure to act on those people who carry out unlawful instructions also is another challenge. Because our view is that if someone has carried out an unlawful instruction, that cannot be an excuse that I was given an instruction. Yeah. There should be consequences for having carried out an unlawful instruction. So we are still found wanting in terms of acting against those who flout regulations and then hide behind the whole notion of unlawful instructions.
Commissioner, 305 employees on precautionary suspension. I believe one of the chaps has been at some instance on precautionary suspension for close to 12 years, collecting full salary, and was only caught at a later stage when he tried to come and claim a bonus. Give me one or two things that you think needs to happen here in order to address this question of people who are on precautionary suspension for long, costing hundreds of millions of rands.
That's extremely irresponsible. If an employee has been suspended, legally, the case has to be concluded within 90 days. The whole case has to be concluded within 90 days. Immediately it goes beyond 90 days. Then it raises alarm. And those are the issues that we encourage public servants to come up and raise with us so that we can be able to follow those and investigate such instances. Because sometimes some of the people enjoy sitting at home and earning a salary. And they don't understand that that amounts to theft because you are stealing public resources. You get money that you did not work for. You didn't render any service, but you are given money. But also those who suspend people endlessly have to bear the brunt as well. There should be action taken against them Because if you say it's a precautionary suspension, it means you suspend a person because you don't want the person to interfere with the work of the investigators. After finishing with your investigation, that person must come back to work, and you continue with the disciplinary process when the person is already back at work. You can't suspend the person indefinitely. And in most instances, when employees challenge such suspensions, they are always returned back to work, even without the necessary processes having been taken place, because already that's a punishment to be taken out of your job for such a long time without a case having been taken against you.
There is a sense, I mean, if an individual can be there for such a long time, go finish their law degree, do their articles, and continue to be paid, obviously there's something in the system that needs to alert authorities of something going wrong.
You see, that's why we have advocated as the public service. We have advocated for professionalization of the public service. Because when we say public service must be professionalized, it then means that public servants will have to belong to certain professional bodies. And when you belong to a professional body, you report to a professional body on a regular basis in terms of whether you are still employed and whether you are still doing your work. And also there would be continuous training. So it would be easy then to pick up when people are no longer at work, because some of the trainings that are there need you to produce evidence of the work that you have done in a particular period of time. So that's why we, as the Public Service Commission, are very excited that the Cabinet has indeed approved the professionalization framework. It then means that our country is on the right path to professionalize the public service and also insulate it from irregular appointments and those unfair suspensions and so on and so forth.
Commissioner, we appreciate your time and thank you for your intervention tonight on In Focus. Public Service Commissioner there, Anele Gxoyiya, sounding the alarm of concern really on unlawful instructions that continue in public service from political figures, but also raising issues around employees who remain on suspension and on full pay for long periods, and some unpaid invoices also on the rise, amounting to 4.5 billion rand. Hope their work will begin to move things in the right direction.